I am 76 years old, and I need to tell you about the worst financial decision I ever made. Not the riskiest, not the most complicated, the worst. Because the worst ones are never the dramatic ones. They are the quiet ones. The ones that seem completely reasonable at the time. The ones every sensible person around you nods along to. The ones that take years to reveal exactly what they cost you. And this one cost me more than I have words for. I made it at 65, the age when everyone told me I had done everything right, the age when the finish line was finally in sight, and the people who love you start saying things like, "You deserve to enjoy this now." I believed them, and I made one move, one single financial decision that I am still paying for 11 years later. And if you are anywhere near the age I was when I made it, or if you love someone who is, I need you to hear every word of what I am about to say. I took my pension as a lump sum. There it is. That is the whole confession. Simple, clean, completely legal, widely recommended, and in my particular case, one of the most consequential mistakes of my life. Let me tell you how it happened, and more importantly, let me tell you why. Because the why is the part that will actually protect you. I worked for 31 years at the same manufacturing company. Good work, honest work, the kind of work that leaves you tired in a way that feels earned at the end of the day. When I retired at 65, I had a choice to make. I could take my pension as a monthly payment for the rest of my life, a guaranteed amount, arriving reliably, nothing to manage, nothing to worry about. Or I could take the whole thing at once, a large lump sum, and invest it myself. My financial advisor at the time laid out both options with charts and projections and a great deal of professional confidence. He pointed out that if I invested the lump sum carefully and earned a reasonable return, I would end up with significantly more money over a 20-year period than the monthly payments would deliver. The math made sense. On paper, everything pointed the same direction. What the math did not account for was me. What the charts did not include was what actually happens to a 65-year-old man who suddenly has more money sitting in an account than he has ever seen in his life at a time when his judgment about risk has not yet caught up with his new reality. What the projections did not factor in was 2008. What the spreadsheet did not prepare me for was watching that number shrink in a way that made my stomach drop every single morning when I opened the statement, and the particular kind of panic that sets in when you are 67 years old and you do not have 30 years to recover from a market correction the way a 40-year-old does. I want you to hear that again because it is the part most people miss when they are making this decision from the comfortable distance of still being employed. Risk tolerance changes completely when you are on the other side. When you are working, a market drop is painful but abstract. It is a number on a page, and you have time and income and the psychological buffer of knowing more is coming in. When you are retired and that account is all there is, a market drop is not a number on a page. It is your groceries. It is your heating bill. It is the trip you were going to take to see your grandchildren that you are now quietly reconsidering. It is a completely different animal, and I did not understand that until I was standing inside it with no way back. I want to tell you about a man named Gerald. Gerald worked in the same building as me for years, different department, but we had coffee together most Fridays for the better part of a decade. Gerald retired 2 years before I did, and he faced the same choice, and he made the opposite decision. He took the monthly payment. His financial advisor gave him the same charts mine gave me, the same projections showing he would likely accumulate less over time by taking the steady payments. Gerald listened to all of it, and then he said something I have thought about almost every day since my own retirement. He said, "I have spent 30 years knowing exactly how much is coming in every month. I am not going to spend my retirement years worrying about whether I made the right calls. I want to wake up on the first of every month and know the number." Gerald was not unsophisticated. He understood the math. He just understood himself better than I understood myself. Gerald called me in the fall of 2008 when the markets were collapsing and everyone I knew was watching their retirement accounts bleed. He did not call to rub anything in. Gerald was not that kind of man. He called because he knew what I was going through, and he wanted to make sure I was okay. His pension check had arrived that morning, same as it always did. Same number, same reliability. He had slept fine. I had not slept fine in 6 weeks. Now, if you are watching this and you are in your 50s or early 60s and you have a pension decision coming, I want you to understand something that nobody in the financial industry has any particular incentive to tell you plainly. The lump sum is not automatically smarter. It is only smarter if you have the temperament to manage it, the discipline to leave it alone when panic tells you to move it, the financial knowledge to make good decisions with it across what could be a 30-year retirement, and the psychological constitution to watch it fluctuate without it affecting your quality of life and your sleep and your sense of security. Most people genuinely believe they have all of those things right up until the moment they are tested. And by then, the decision has already been made and it cannot be unmade. And I want you to know that I genuinely believe that if you are watching this right now and you have not yet made this choice, you owe it to yourself to think about it differently than I did. Think about what monthly certainty would feel like at 70, at 75, at 80, when your energy for managing finances and monitoring markets is not what it once was. Think about what it would feel like to wake up every single month and know that a specific number is arriving regardless of what the market did, regardless of what the news is saying, regardless of what is happening in the world that week. There is a value to that certainty that does not show up on any projection chart. It is a real value. It is a quality of life value. And I traded it for a number that looked bigger on paper and proceeded to spend the better part of a decade managing the anxiety that came with it. If you are finding any of this useful, and I genuinely hope you are, I want to ask you something. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon, because we put out videos like this regularly, real conversations from people who have lived through these decisions and want to save you from learning the hard way. If you do not subscribe, you are going to miss things that matter, things that I wish someone had put in front of me before I made the decisions I made. That is all I will say about that. Now let me tell you the other piece of this that nobody talks about. Even if the lump sum works out financially, even if the markets cooperate and your investments perform reasonably, and the numbers 20 years later are better than the monthly payments would have been, there is a psychological cost to managing a large sum of money in retirement that is genuinely significant and that I was completely unprepared for. Every year brings new decisions, rebalancing, tax strategy, required minimum distributions, whether to shift from growth to income, whether this advisor is still the right one, whether that investment vehicle still makes sense given your age. These are not impossible questions, but they are constant questions, and they follow you into your retirement in a way that the guaranteed monthly payment simply does not. I did not retire to spend my mornings reviewing financial statements with the low-level dread of a man who knows he cannot afford a major mistake. I retired to be present, to be available, to show up for my grandchildren and my garden and the slow mornings I had been promising myself for 30 years. And I got some of that, genuinely I did. But there was always this background frequency running under it, this quiet hum of financial vigilance that the monthly payment people like Gerald simply did not have. He got to retire fully. I got to retire with an asterisk. I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually sit with it for a moment. When you imagine your retirement, the version you have been working toward all these years, what does the emotional texture of it feel like? Does it feel free? Does it feel light? Does it feel like you can finally exhale? Now ask yourself honestly whether the financial structure you are building actually supports that feeling, or whether it is quietly introducing a new category of worry to replace the old ones. Because worry is a shapeshifter. It will find a new container if you give it one. And a large sum of money that you are personally responsible for managing in your 70s is a very comfortable container for worry to settle into. I am not telling you the lump sum is always wrong. I know people for whom it was absolutely the right choice. People with genuine financial expertise. People with the right temperament. People whose specific situation made the flexibility of a lump sum genuinely valuable. What I am telling you is that I said yes to it for the wrong reasons. I said yes because the number looked bigger, because the projection showed more, because I was 65 years old and I thought bigger and more were still the right metrics, and I had not yet understood that what I actually needed in retirement was not more, it was steadiness, security, the kind of financial floor that lets you stand on it without looking down. I got a bigger number and a shakier floor. And 11 years later, I would trade one for the other without hesitating for a single second. I want to hear from you. I really do. Have you faced this decision, or are you getting close to it? What did you choose, or what are you leaning toward? Tell me in the comments below. Not because I have all the answers, I clearly did not, but because these conversations matter. Because someone reading what you write might make a better decision than either of us did. And at 76, the thing I find most meaningful is the idea that something I learned the hard way might spare someone else the same education. That is what this channel is for. That is why I keep showing up here and talking into a camera at an age when most people have stopped bothering. Because the things I know now, earned at considerable personal cost, are worth saying. And if even one person changes one decision because of something they heard here, that is worth everything. The last thing I will tell you is this. Whatever decision you are facing right now, financial or otherwise, ask yourself not just what the math says, but what the life says. The math is not the whole story. It was never the whole story. The math told me to take the lump sum. The life told me I was a man who needed steadiness more than upside, who needed to sleep through the night more than he needed the theoretical extra return, who needed to feel secure more than he needed to feel clever. I did not listen to the life. I listened to the chart. Listen to the life. It knows more than the chart does. I have got more of these conversations coming, real ones, the kind that cost something to have. Subscribe to this channel and watch them when they come out, because the bell icon is there for a reason, and the reason is that things worth hearing should not slip past you quietly. Gerald is 81 now. He still gets his check on the first of every month. He still sleeps fine. I am still working on that part, but I am getting there.